Everyone, Dustin here with Dream Crushing Debt. Today I want to talk about what is the difference between being cheap and being frugal, right? There's some confusion. I think actually there's a lot of confusion, but there's some confusion between what are the differences between being cheap and being frugal because the commonality between the two is they both like to save money, right? So how do you know if you're a frugal person or if you're a cheapskate? Yeah. Okay. So I think the basic tenet of a frugal person is someone who lives a simple life, but economically. Okay. But at the same time, even though they like to save money, they're not afraid to spend money either. While the cheapskate they like to save money and they will save money wherever possible, and they will go to great lengths to save that money, regardless of who it'll affect. There's this TV show called Extreme Cheapskates, and I've only seen one episode, and the one that I watched just had my jaw drop the entire time. Okay, there was this man who was determined to save money, to economize whatever he could. So he would buy two-ply toilet paper. He would separate the plies and then roll them up into two individual rolls of toilet paper. Are you kidding me? Okay, his wife was so embarrassed by his efforts to save a buck that on their wedding anniversary, she's like, I want to go out to dinner, but you have to promise me you will not embarrass me. Okay, well, what does that mean, embarrass me? Well, they get to dinner and he just could not resist going up to people who had apparently finished eating but did not eat all the food on their plate and said, hey, do you mind if I have the rest of that? Okay, or if people had left food on their plate and had paid and they're gone, he would sneak over to their place and he would scrape off the extra food to where he had mountains of food sitting on his table that he had collected from other people because, well, they're not eating it. They don't need it. It's like a waste of money, right? And his wife was so embarrassed that he was saving a buck that he did not care, right, what he was doing to her. That's just an example of someone who's cheap. Someone who's frugal, right? I think they understand the larger picture. They understand that there's value in different things, and they're not going to go out of their way to save a buck if it's going to affect somebody else, right? I think an example of that would be a frugal person if they have to buy a new car or a new appliance. Knowing that whatever this big purchase is going to stick around for another 10 years or whatever, that they're willing to spend money on something nicer, something brand new possibly, and avoid picking something up that's dirt cheap, that's not good quality just because it was the cheaper option. It was the option that would save them money. And so the frugal person, economical, they have, I think, a bigger picture in mind. They value things differently, and they're willing to spend money on things that are of value, and they will sacrifice or save money where they can on other things that are less valuable to them. So the similarities can be very confusing, but I think those are probably the biggest traits that you'll see. Because we know cheap people and we know frugal people, and cheap people are tough, right? They just won't spend money on anything, and you're like, why won't you just spend a little bit of money on this? Like, that's crazy that you're just sacrificing so much when you don't have to. I don't know, like. So you can look up online all kinds of things, what people think are the basic tenets of being frugal or cheap, and how to identify it. So there's a lot of varying opinions out there, and I think there's just a lot of gray area, because I think even you'll confuse a frugal person for being a cheap person simply because they just don't value something the same way that you do. So I don't know. It's a tough one, but being frugal, I like to think of myself being frugal, and it just comes down to conscious spending. To be a frugal person comes down to conscious spending, and Conscious spending is you sacrifice in some areas while you're giving more importance or more value to things that you like. Okay, that's pretty much it. So I hope this has helped, and we'll see you guys in another video.